Is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fourth and 15 with Mel and Smooth. Smooth is on hiatus for a minute. He's on vacation, but that does not stop us from the train moving. And with me today, I got a very special guest, another member of the 216 Sports Network. He runs his own joint called the Straub Brothers Sports Show. Ken Straub, welcome to the show, baby.
Hey, thank you, Mel. It's good to be here for 4th and 15 and have you with me and not be doing it with my own bro. Okay. So thanks for having me, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Well, okay. Before we get started, I know we've been out the turn for a while, but I do got to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors. Our first one being Uncle Rico's Quarter Mile Challenge. He can throw a mountain, he can football over them mountains. Make sure you go pick that cartridge up. He's a great sponsor. He's doing it up. The Browns should pick him up now that they having quarterback issues. Also, another one. I do want to make sure I give these guys a shout out because we interviewed him a few weeks back. Alan Farst and the director of the movie Triangle Park. Go see this movie as soon as you get a chance. It is a movie about the first NFL game involving the Dayton Triangles, and a lot of history was in that. It's in the Hall of Fame. Just make sure you guys go see that movie. Hey, wait, hold up. Why is my ESPN? Oh, Ken, we got some breaking news, bro.
Talk to me.
Got some breaking news, man. Apparently, somebody from Ohio State has hit the transfer portal. I don't believe it, but here we go. Brutus the Buckeye has entered the transfer portal.
We just had the discussion about how the college football playoff committee has ruined the top four in the college football playoffs. This is proof that NIL and transfer money or transfer portal has ruined college football as we speak. I don't know what this means for the Pac-12 mascots as well.
Well, it's not even the Pac-12 anymore. It's the Pac-2,
Pac-2.
given that there are only two teams left that have not left. I'm still on the fence about it, but I'm gonna push ahead and say I think that the commissioner of the Pac-12 dropped the ball when he had a chance to absorb the Mountain West and give all of those guys a chance, all those schools rather, a chance to join a Power Five conference and build their programs up, have that money like they used to have back when the Bowl Coalition. That's how old I am. When the Bowl Coalition and the Bowl Alliance was still around. So for those that don't know and haven't watched, the Bowl Coalition and the Bowl Alliance were the ones that created the BCS essentially. You had split national championships and all that. But nevertheless, we are going to keep it moving. We got a lot to go through. And here we go. We're going to start with the NFL and week 14. So here's the lineup for week 14. We're not going to give you guys everything because, like I said, we got a lot to go through. But tonight, my Steelers go against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. What you say, man?
Well, your Steelers are currently favored by 5.5. Well,
Yeah, but it's Belichick. And the problem with this is I do not trust Belichick. Belichick hates the AFC North. Hates. I'm saying that with extreme prejudice. He hates the AFC North. That includes Cleveland. That is first and foremost Cleveland. Then next is probably Baltimore, given the fact that Baltimore are the old Browns. So what say you, sir?
well, I'm going to shock everybody. The first thing I'm going to touch on is the fact that this over under is 30.5, and I think they're going to smash it.
Really?
I think both of these teams are going to score some points tonight. Yes, I agree. It is Bill Belichick, and he absolutely loves just taking care of the AFC. But I'm going to do something that not a lot of people have done recently, Mel. Let's give a little bit of love to your Steelers. Everybody keeps talking about how they're the best good team, or they're the worst team with a good record right now.
They are.
And
I'm even astounded.
that is true. But for the most part, you have showed up for all of your big, important games this year. So
Yeah.
and here's the other thing, and this is, as a gambler myself, I hate Thursday night games. Guys are coming off of short weeks. You don't know how their bodies are reacting just with all of that stuff. So, with that being said, I think it's going to be a close game. I think some points are going to get scored because when teams are tired, I think the defense suffers way more than the offense does. So, I like this over under. I like the Steelers to win this game. And if you want to sprinkle in a little touchdowns, you want a little juice. Zeke and Najee Harris together, anytime touchdown bundle plus 764.
That's a lot, bro.
It is. It is. However, you got two teams who like to run the ball. It's a Thursday night. I'm just here. Listen, not anything else was a really good was great, to be honest with you. But I do
Well,
love this over under. I love that. That is great.
well, truth be told, because the Patriots look absolutely terrible this year, I gotta go with the Steelers. Normally, I wouldn't, just because again, it is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a defensive genius, but the way this offense has looked and the way our defense looks, I have to pick the Steelers. So
Right.
that's what I'm going with the Steelers. And at this point, you can't tell me different.
Nope.
Next up, give me that, give me that. Yeah, okay, here we go. Next up, we got Bengals at Colts. Now, the reason I picked this game, because we're not going to go through the whole slate, like I said, the reason I picked this game was because this has wild card implications. The Bengals just beat Jacksonville, who go to Cleveland Sunday and are now at 500. The Colts are sitting at seventh behind the Browns for playoff seeding. Now, Browning was not what I thought he was going to be. He looked very good in this game against a very good team, a division leading team in Jacksonville, and he held his own.
He did.
That was everybody's biggest worry, was that was he going to hold his own against that kind of defense? And he held his own. So hit me with the line, man.
Uh Colts minus 1.5. The over under right now is 43.5, and I like it because the Colts score points no matter what. And this Bengals team has kind of been frisky enough to put some points in. Something I really like too, because Jake Browning has proven that he can stand in that pocket and he can sling the ball around. If I like
Hmm.
I like Browning and Gardner Minshew's over passing yards. Browning is 223
Really?
and a half. Minshew is 226 and a half. That's not those are not crazy numbers in the modern day NFL. You put that together, that's plus 222. Not crazy, but a good return on that.
Do you really trust Gardner Minshew against this defense?
At this
Honestly.
at this point, why not? I mean, if you want to go under that and still put that together, the odds are still decent. He's been playing well. He's been putting up some numbers. I think Gardner Minshew is always going to be a really good backup quarterback who can come up and put up some big numbers, but is never going to get you over the hump. So for this isn't over the hump. So I'll take Gardner Minshew here.
Okay. And with that, I'm honestly going to go with the Bengals on this. Reason being, they're the hot team right now.
Oh yeah.
They just beat Jacksonville Monday night. Jacksonville's coming in beat up. The Colts are almost in the same way beat up. So this is one of those, can you get through the hump of a tough part of your schedule?
Mm-hmm.
And I know everybody thinks that the NFL gives you a weak schedule every so often. They don't. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up for you to win at least 3 games, even if you stink. But the reality is, there's always that one team that's just going to hurt you or just make life miserable for you for that week.
Yep.
And for this week, Browning's going to have his work cut out. So I honestly got to go with the Colts because they're fighting not only for the division, but they're still in that race, but they're also fighting to keep their spot in the playoff seeding. Give me the Colts.
I like it.
All right. Next up on the list. Now, before I get into this game, there are two instances where this game went completely bad for the Browns. There was a game in 2002. Some Browns fans might call it Bottlegate. I like to call it a shitstorm because that's exactly what it was. The coaches always tell us, don't let the refs, you know, decide the game for you. And this is one of those games where the refs decided the game for you unnecessarily. There was also back in, I think it was either 2014 or 2013, whatever it was, a hometown kid by the name of Cecil Short, shout out to Cecil, came back to his hometown and ended up scoring the game winning touchdown for said team that's involved in Bottlegate. This team happens to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're coming in a little beat up. Um, Trevor Lawrence is on day to day with a high ankle sprain, but reports are saying he was throwing the ball in the cast today. Uh, can take it for a second.
All right, Browns are favored by 3 right now. I think a lot of that's going to determine whether or not uh, Trevor Lawrence actually plays in this game. So there are some ifs. There's some ifs on my prediction because I think if Trevor Lawrence plays, I still think the Jaguars can pull this out. But I think if Trevor Lawrence is anything less than 75 or anything less than 75 to 80%, or if he does not play, I think regardless of what the Browns have going on, I think they will win this game. Currently the Browns have not named a starting quarterback. I went to go pull some touchdown odds and some passing odds, and Flacco is off the board because the Browns are currently non-committal about a quarterback. DTR is yet to clear concussion protocol. There was one more hurdle. I have not seen practice or what has happened since today's practice, so he may have cleared that hurdle during practice while we're speaking. So in the meantime, I think DTR or Joe Flacco. I like the Browns here. Here's some fun stuff. I on the 216 Sports Network, I do soccer. So obviously, I'm gonna give you some kicker odds. Browns kicker Dustin Hopkins over 1.5 field goals plus 100. That's easy money. Okay, that's putting some money down and walking away with just a little bit more just because. So I definitely like that. Some anytime touchdown odds to score. Njoku plus 300, Jerome Ford plus 130, and Kareem Hunt plus 200. I like those. I don't necessarily like to put a lot of guys on the same team together, especially with the Browns, just not because I dislike the Browns or I'm being negative to the Browns. There's a very big opportunity for sometimes for them to not always, score in bunches like that. So I like an individual one there if you do like that. So that is definitely there. As in terms of the Browns -3, not the biggest fan of that, but like I said, I do like the Browns.
You know what? Normally, as a Steelers fan, I would disagree with you on this, but let's look at the reality. This is going to be a cold weather game for the Jaguars. The Jaguars have not played a cold weather game all year. If the Browns can, if the Browns can come in healthy defensively, Trevor Lawrence gonna have some problems on his hands.
Yes.
You,
If he
you know,
plays, I think
if he
absolutely.
plays, if you're right, if he plays, something tells me they're gonna give him a cortisone shot, and then that's gonna be his way of getting in the game. I don't think that's what's gonna happen because they have a lot more to play for. But regardless of this, I feel like that this could be a sign where the 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 Jaguars show that they are ready to be in the playoffs and make a deep run. Unfortunately, you're at Cleveland Browns Stadium. You're going against the Browns and Myles Garrett, and Joe Flacco looked damn good last week. And
He,
that's
he
the
did.
scary part.
He
That's
absolutely
the
did.
scary part. So with that, I'm gonna go with the Browns. Give me the Browns by 3.
I like it.
All right. So for those watching, we're gonna cut this short just for a second. There, there happened to be somebody who's about to join us. We've been trying to track this guy down for the longest. I would say at least a year. And because we finally got him, I gotta introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen. Y'all call Tom Brady the GOAT. I call this man the GOAT, and I'm gonna explain why in a little bit. So we like to welcome arena football legend Aaron Garcia to the show. Aaron, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, man. It's great to be here.
Okay, before we get started, I was told to relay this message to you. And the message goes, Right 80, X option 11. I'm going quick mo. And that comes from Sean King.
Okay. Okay. There was only
So
two guys it could have been. It was Sean King or Mike Horacek, but I think Sean learned that quick mo from Mike or vice versa. I'll let them argue about that one.
well, thank you for joining us anyway. And shout out to Coach Sean as well. Um, I gotta ask, we gotta start from the beginning. Take us through humble beginnings. What was life like growing up for you? When did you decide to be active in football? And as you got older, how you got to be the quarterback that you were?
Well, it really started. My father was a football coach and a teacher at a high school here in Sacramento called Grant High School. And so I grew up being a ball boy. And really, I tell people all the time, I never wanted to be an NFL quarterback, a college quarterback, an arena football quarterback. I wanted to be the quarterback of the Grant High School Pacers. And at the time, I remember wanting to be there every Friday night for the games, and then when my opportunity finally came, it was a dream come true, and all of that kind of just turned into, what we'll talk about next, but just college, ups and downs there, and then arena football, just a really long career and just something that I was blessed to be a part of.
Before
All right,
you
go ahead.
before we touch into college and we get into the pros, I do have a question for you on that high school level. So you, like you said, you know, your dream growing up was to be the quarterback for your high school. So in terms of career accomplishments, where does breaking Elway's California State High School passing yardage and touchdown record, where does that rank for you then?
It was huge, and I had a group of friends. My basically they were the receiving corps back then. We were called the Air Force. We kind of tagged ourselves, I guess, with that. But we were all really close. We worked every summer together and things like that. And so to do that with guys that are still lifelong friends, unfortunately one of my tight end passed away a couple weeks ago, but I got to kind of reconnect with all of them. I still talk to a couple of them regularly, but it was a huge accomplishment to do it with my dad as a coach, and again in the place. That's what high school sports is. It's so fun and amazing because your family's there every week, and it becomes kind of a community event. And I was just blessed to be a part of a really really great high school and really great community.
Okay, you break Elway's record, and you catch the eye of Washington State. What was that transition like from going to Grant High School to the Pac-10 back then, as we knew it? And what was your first experience as a quarterback for the Cougars like?
Well, I think my first experience was I was being recruited by everyone from USC, UCLA. I think the only school in the Pac-10 at the time that didn't recruit me was Arizona, and they ran the wishbone, and so I wasn't a running quarterback, like you see out there, these days. But I only went to Washington State because one of those receivers I talked about recruited both of us. And so I went there on my trip, and I'll never forget the coach Dennis Erickson at the time, kind of leaning back. He had this like stuffed cougar in his office, and he leaned back and he was like, "If you want to break, national records, if you want to be the best coached by the best quarterback coach in the country, you'll come here." And I remember that day, all of a sudden, Washington State went from being, a recruiting visit with my best friend to where I wanted to play college football. And unfortunately, he got the job at the University of Miami 2 years later. And obviously that there was no transfer portal at the time, right? Like there is now. And so, but it was a huge jump. I remember getting there my first week of practice and calling my dad like, I can't play at this level. And then literally a year later, I'm starting against USC, Junior Seau, Mark Carrier, guys like that, and handling my own, I guess. And so it was just a great experience.
So in touching on that college experience, like you said, you called your dad and were like, I'm not sure. What was that kind of welcome to college moment for you where you were like, all right, wait a minute, if I don't do something different or figure something out, I'm not gonna be here?
I think I played in a couple All-Star games at the end of my high school career, and so we went from the state All-Star game where I'm practicing 3 days in a row for 2 weeks. Then we went to the high school all-star game, and I was doing two a days for that 2 weeks in a row. And then we went into camp in college, and I just remember my shoulder was shot, and I wasn't our as great as our high school was. We didn't have a huge like conditioning, strength and conditioning, lifting, all program like that. Kind of just did the best we could, with a really small weight room and things like that. And so it was really just once I got physically to that level, I trained that off season with the starting quarterback at the time, who was a guy named Tim Rosenbaugh, and I put in huge amounts of time that summer. I stayed there in Pullman, Washington, for most of the summer, and once I got physically ready, then the other stuff, kind of, I think the intangibles, things like that, were already there, and then I felt really able and ready to compete.
Okay, this is just me. I watched you for I want to say the year that I can remember at Washington State. And then, like you said, Erickson leaves and goes to Miami, goes on a run. You're ahead of a guy named Drew Bledsoe. And the new coach comes in and he just does a complete overhaul. How did you feel about that? And what broke your decision to transfer when that happened?
I tried to fight through it initially. I remember going into that camp when Drew came on, and we all knew Drew was an outstanding talent, right? 6'5", wasn't as big and strong as he was by the time people really saw him, at the end of his career at Washington State, and then in the NFL. But we knew there was talent there. But I walk into this first camp, and his dad is the guest speaker, for our entire team. And so right away, I'm sitting there like, okay, my dad's never, never been on campus, even, I think, at that point, other than to watch a game. And so, I kind of felt right away that there were some things that were going to be tough, because I was Dennis Erickson's, kind of, whatever you want to call it, top recruit, and Drew was Mike Price's top recruit. And Drew and Dennis had kind of grown up together in the Washington area, and they both applied for the job the first time around when Dennis got it. So really, I really felt like our class, Coach Erickson or Coach Price, we just weren't his guys, right? And you see it now with Dion and things like that, and you come in and you get your guys in there, and it's just a lot more, I guess, open and transparent nowadays. Whereas back then, they wouldn't say that. They would tell you, we're here for all of you and things like that. And obviously, we couldn't move without. You'd have to sit out a year or two. You'd have to sit out if I would have went to Miami for a year, or you'd have to sit out for 2 years if you went within the Pac-10. So anyway, and me and Drew had a great relationship. We were good friends, things like that. I still, to this day, I think he would have been even better if he would have waited and kind of learned a little bit. He took a lot of, lumps those first couple of years as a freshman, and things like that, but obviously turned into a great quarterback.
And you ended up transferring to Sacramento State. You put up over 2,500 yards passing. Do you think now, if you had some, or back then, if you had some of these rules that you have now, you may have kind of dipped into the transfer portal, or maybe tried to follow Coach Erickson to Miami?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. If I wouldn't have had to sit out, and, back when you're young, you're thinking, I knew I had a chance to start as a freshman. And so and again, these are my friends, and I got a little bit of an ego. And so I'm saying, I don't care who it is, I'm gonna beat him out, but then when the point came where I remember Drew throwing an interception in practice one time, and, he's standing in the pocket, 6'5", and he throws a rocket about 40 yards down the field and hits the safety right in the chest, right? And in my mind, I'm like, that's great for me. And then I look over, and the quarterback coach and the head coach are looking at each other like, did you see how hard he threw that? Like, that's all they saw was, the physical skill and talent, that he had. And so I kind of knew at that point, look, the writing's on the wall. I can't fight this anymore. It was kind of messing with me mentally. I was doing some things that were out of character, attitude wise, and things of that nature. And so just at that point, I had to kind of get back home and regroup because it wasn't fun anymore. And so, that was kind of. But I would have. I had our receiver coach went to Ohio State. I would have went there maybe. Obviously, Coach Erickson was in Miami. At the time they had a starter named Craig Erickson and Gino Toretto behind him. So there were a lot of other options that I would have pursued. I didn't really want to sit out at the time. So.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. As a Hurricanes fan back then, you could have beat out Craig. I'm confident you could have beat out Wesley. I love you, but I'm sorry. And you had Craig and Gino, so shout out to Wesley, relative. You all about that, but honestly, I think you would have beat out Craig no problem. Gino, that might have been tough, but I think you could have beat that one out too. Sometimes looking back on it, I wish you would have kept that pedigree of quarterbacks going that Miami had from Kelly to Kosar, Gino, obviously, because Gino won the Heisman. I think you could have won the Heisman if you'd have went to Miami. Just being honest.
Well, and I was a fan of them too, right? That style, like I had a little bit of a attitude and swagger, and when I was younger, and so I would have loved it. And I think I told you Leonard Conley became a teammate and a great friend of mine, and I'm a Cowboy fan, so I was a huge fan of Michael Irving and all that, and that's what was the hardest thing. I was telling you the other night when they fired Tom Landry, I was hurt, right? Then they go get Jimmy Johnson from Miami, and then they take Dennis Erickson from Washington State, and it was just like these small degrees of separation that affect kids' lives,
Yeah.
and people don't understand that. And now as an athletic director, I'm dealing with kids, that go to college. I have a son that's playing quarterback at San Jose State, and just I really don't know how they navigate these things, at this time with the NILs and the portal and all of that.
I will say it is. I'm gonna try to contain the fact that you just brought up you being a Cowboys fan, as I am a diehard long life Cowboys fan myself.
Oh Jesus!
Yep, you're outnumbered, Mel. This is the best night of my life. That's why I'm glad we're getting to talk to you, because I think it's important to keep in touch with guys like you who could have had a completely entire different college career if they were gifted some of these roles that we have now. I do a college show myself. I love college football, and I think NIL, I know it has some hills to navigate, but I think it's one of the best things, this transfer portal, because now, like you said, a lot of coaches aren't transparent even nowadays, and it's great that a kid can read the writing on the wall, knows something is wrong, or he's not gonna.
Kane went out, but he's right. The transfer portal, it's working and then it's not working. It's giving these guys, some of them, I'll say that, it's giving some of them who don't want to stick it out a chance to find somewhere where they fit in, and it's giving other kids a chance to move up from Division 2, Division 3, and it's actually a good thing. So with that, you moved to Sacramento State. Obviously, you're the man on campus. What was that like? For you to finish out your career at home, essentially at Sac State, and what was the experience like there compared to Washington State?
It was tough. I was humbled, right? But I felt a little bit defeated. I felt like I kind of failed. So you come back, and then the other issue I had is you think because you come down a level that you have to be a superstar, right? Whereas at Washington State, I was just trying to do my job, and so I think when I put that extra pressure on myself, I didn't play at the level there that I would have liked to. I also suffered a knee injury going into my senior year. And I honestly wasn't enjoying it like I had, previously. So it was a tough experience, especially because now you're back in front of your friends and family, and you want to do good, but there's other distractions that, come into play with that type of a situation. So it was a hard situation. And that's where, as we get into arena football, arena football really saved me because it brought back the enjoyment. It took, at the time, especially, it took some of the politics, out of the game, and And so, I'm really thankful. I wouldn't change anything. I sit there at times and I look back, oh, maybe this would have happened, this would have happened, some of the things we're talking about. But, then I don't have probably the same relationships, the kids, and all the things that I've been blessed with. So it's all a journey, um, and I'm glad that, I was able to experience all of it.
All right. Speaking of arena football, you leave Sac State, have a great career stat wise at that time, and you go undrafted, but you get picked up by San Fran. What was that like? Because a lot of guys that get undrafted or go undrafted, they don't like to really talk about it, but obviously, San Fran's a big deal, and you're a Cowboys fan. What was that transition like to be a Cowboys fan at camp with the 49ers?
Well, that really came later, right? So I didn't get drafted and I didn't get signed that first year, and that's how I ended up in arena football. So I signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats up in Canada, and then Danny White calls me
Tiger
from the
Cats.
Arizona Rattlers, right? And Cowboy quarterback, I'm a fan, all that, and brings me in for a workout, and I had been going to all these different, workouts and tryouts with agents and stuff for NFL teams and CFL teams, and just couldn't land anything. So I'm honestly, I was beat up at that point mentally, and so I fly to Arizona. He works me out for 30 minutes and cuts the workout, and I'm heated, right? And I remember going back to the locker room. I'm changing. I got a flight to catch, and his assistant calls me in and he goes, "I've seen enough. I want to sign you, as our quarterback." And I was ecstatic, but I was telling somebody like he literally watched me do some footwork drills, and then he saw me he made me throw this ball that basically I had to get it over the linebacker and under the safety. They call it an up and down ball. I was watching them evaluate Brock Purdy and what makes him great, and they were showing how he can make that throw right as a 49er, right? And but long story short, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because Danny White was a great offensive mind. The team there was incredible, but I didn't get that shot. I never signed with the Niners until I was in my 30s. I had tried to get to the World League, all these different things, and it just never panned out until I broke some records in the Arena League and did some things. And there were a lot of circumstances why at the time the Arena Football League wasn't set up. We actually overlapped, so you couldn't, like a Kurt Warner situation, those things weren't happening right away. And then once the NFL kind of bought into it, they started to move things around so they could kind of use it as a feeder system and give guys opportunities.
And
Now,
I
for
do
those
want
watching, real quick, for those watching, mind you, back when Aaron was in the height of his Arena League career, those were 18 game, 20 game seasons. So you're running from late February, early March, literally up until training camp's about to start.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was amazing. One of my best friends, Kevin Swain, he played an arena football season, he played an XFL season, and then got signed by the New York Jets and played a full NFL season all in one year. And that
Sheesh.
those were just the kind of things that guys were having to do back then and were willing to do. And I think you're starting to see it again now as XFL, USFL, things like that are trying to start gaining momentum, and then the Arena Football League coming back. So yeah, but it was a grind for sure.
100%. And I want to give your stats and accomplishments some love here too. Two-time AFL passing yards leader in '01 and 2013. You were the touchdown leader in 2000, 2001, and 2003. AFL Offensive Player of the Year in 2001 and 2011. Three-time first team all Arena League in 2000, 2001, and 2011, and obviously Arena Bowl 24 champion and MVP. So speaking of that MVP and championship game, I have a question for you, and I think it's a fairly easy one. What is it like to do the thing that all kids dream of in their backyard growing up and playing out in the street, which is to throw a touchdown with no time left to win the game?
wait. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. Before you get started, Aaron, let's go back down memory lane and take a look at that time he's talking about.
If Garcia makes this happen, he'll have 400 yards passing tonight, 8 touchdowns, and that coveted first Arena Bowl title. Touchdown to Ron Harvey. Garcia to Harvey. The Jacksonville Sharks are your Arena Bowl champions.
Harvey making big play after big play all night long. Ball in the hands of Aaron Garcia to finish the game. 2 seconds to go. Tremendous protection up front, buying time. Does a great job of finding his receiver and making that big play.
And the story.
All right. I have to ask, one, what was the play? And number two, what were you thinking as Harley caught the pass to win the game?
Well, we were in offense different than most because you had to sit there as a quarterback, take extra time. We would run a system called POCO, or what Sean called option. But the guy in motion had an option or a choice to either go to the front post or to the back corner. And I didn't know what he was going to do, right, as the play is developing. And so we're calling that play for Jomo Wilson, who was one of our most reliable receivers, to run that route. Well, Arizona, obviously, Kevin Guys, great coach. I played with him, against him, and all that. So he doubles Jomo. It was 27 Z Poco. And then my second read is a dig coming across the front line of the end zone. And then that last read is really just about a 5 to 7 yard out that I don't want to go to because he's not in the end. He's not supposed to be in the end zone on the route, right? And as that play developed, I'm buying time. He just kind of snuck out that back door, and because they were so focused on Jomo, they just lost him. And I'm sitting there patting the ball, and honestly, just in my mind, like there's nothing there, and all of a sudden, just out of the corner of my eye, I see him, and it's just, you have no idea what a relief is to, in a situation like that, to see somebody pop open like that, and no, even before I let it go, it's almost like, sometimes you see Steph Curry shoot the ball and he's already running back down the other way. Like, I knew I trusted Duran so much in his hands, and I'm just a big, long receiver, and it was an amazing feeling. And you hear at that point, we're playing in Arizona, crowds going crazy, and then you just hear everything just suck out of the arena and in that moment, and it's an incredible feeling. Arizona was the favorite. Obviously, we're there in their house, and you see most people win a game like that or make that play in there, you see joy. And I think if you look at that video, you see anger. Like, there was so much in me over a long career of not being able to make that happen, and it all came out, and it was a great feeling.
Did you feel like in that moment that all the reps, all the practice, that everything was justified in that moment, that this is I've got to here, I was supposed to be here, and now I am here?
I don't think so, because my dad calls me a knucklehead, right? And so there was a linebacker on that team who I ended up playing with later, but who had been talking mess the whole game. And I'm so in the moment, right? And then there's fans the same way, right? I'm so in the moment at that point, I'm taking my helmet off and I'm looking for him. Like, I want to talk to him at that point, like see me now, right? And so then, yeah, as the night goes on, I mean, we probably can't even talk about all that, but just just the celebration and the processing and all that, it was justified, and the work was worth it, and the hard times, whether it's in college or in the Arena League, I was telling Ramel, I've been close probably 8 or 9 times. We made it to the semifinals, and there were times where we scored with 16 seconds left and ended up losing, right? And in that game, you have to almost score at the last second if you're playing another good offense. And so yeah, it was amazing, and I get chills watching it now. Things like that. I try to make my kids watch it, and they don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, so. But it was great.
I gotta be honest with you, and I'm gonna apologize right now ahead of time. I remember my first view of you was when you were up in Connecticut with the Coyotes. God awful team. Great quarterback, god awful team. And for those watching again, if you go through the history of the Arena Football League in its first incarnation, there was some terrible teams, especially like when you go through the mid 90s and you got to go through the San Antonio Force. Don't even get me started on them. But 2000, you get to New York, and I can honestly say, watching you play in New York, I hated you. And it wasn't because it was a bad thing. It was like this guy is throwing every pass that you always hear the coach on the sideline say, "Don't throw that, don't throw that." Oh yeah, he threw it. Great pass. And it was always a touchdown, or it was always a first down. What was the experience like in New York compared to everywhere else?
Well, first of all, it wasn't always a touchdown, right? And when I'm talking to kids nowadays, or I'm talking to people, not just about football, just about life, right? I've thrown more touchdowns than any man alive, right? Ever. I've also thrown more interceptions than any man alive, ever, right? And so I try and make sure I make that point that you have to those throws you're talking about. I had to take chances sometimes. Sometimes they weren't the smartest, right? Sometimes by the time you saw them, it was probably like, don't throw it, don't throw it, don't throw it. Oh yeah, he threw it, but there were probably times, earlier in my career where it was like, don't throw it, don't throw it. Dang it, you threw it, right? But those were, I think I told you, Danny White literally would pay me $100 for a touchdown, but then he would charge me $200 for an interception. And
Oh
back
man.
then we weren't making crazy money, so that was a lot. And so, it was things like that that I was able to kind of learn throughout my career. And I think I really got to a point where my ratio was good, and things like that. But in New York, it was a special place because the owner, Mr. Charles Wong, who passed away several years ago, bought the team out of Iowa, bought the Barnstormers, and brought us there. And he was just an amazing owner. Like he put us up in good housing. He took care of us. All the things that the horror stories that sometimes you hear in the Arena League, and I
I got
experienced
some
them in places
stories.
like Connecticut, right? He was just one of those guys where he wasn't in it to make money. He was doing that through the New York Islanders, right? And to be honest, we were probably a tax write-off, but which was good for us because he would spend money on us, right? And he would treat us the same as he treated his New York Islander players, and so it was great. I loved Iowa too, though. It was just a whole different vibe, different fan base, different ownership, different experience. But both of them were great places, and I think it was one of the best organizations in arena football when you put Iowa and New York together. The hard part was neither me or Kurt were ever able to bring a championship to that organization, and that still to this day like bothers me. So
Well, I have to look at it from, because you said about the horror stories, and I'm like, yeah, I got some horror stories, all right.
right.
Because being in the world of indoor football, there are some horror stories. But you know, despite, and the reason I say it's always a touchdown and I saw you throw it, it was because literally, like, you gotta understand back then, regional TV. So we got ESPN, we got ESPN2 to a degree. We got Fox Sports Net. So I would be between channels catching arena football games, and most times I flip back to the game you're playing. It's literally you throwing the touchdown, and I'm just like, damn, dude, like, is somebody gonna hit him? Like, can you just? It was
That was, I'll say, it was one of the funnest things about when I got to go back and watch some of the highlights. was me realizing, because I'm a little younger than both of you. We're not going to go into ages here, but it was fun because I was a young kid. So as going back and through and watching some of the highlights, I was like, well, wait a minute, I know exactly who this is. I just did not realize at the time what I was watching as a kid. But yeah, I got to echo what Mel was talking about there.
Well, I knew, I knew we had to entertain, right? Because we were trying to grow our fan base, right? And so I almost would get mad. I remember playing against certain quarterbacks. I won't name them, right? But they'd be throwing these little 5-yard passes, almost like what you would call like a West Coast offense nowadays, right? Sometimes, but they would throw these 5-yard passes all the way down the field and score. And I'm sitting there like, man, fans are turning this off, right? Like nobody wants to sit back and watch that. And so I really felt like I would take a couple extra hits. You talk about when we first went to New York, guys were still playing both ways.
Might have lost it.
You good?
Yeah, we lost Mel. We may have lost Mel, but we're still good. You can keep going.
Okay. So guys back then would have to play both ways. So I would have D linemen that were
Okay.
Yep.
Obviously.
All right, we're back. Apologize for that.
I'll pause for a minute. So I was just telling Ken, we were talking about, I was talking about how guys had to go both ways when we first went to New York, and you got D linemen that you're trying to teach how to block, and we're taking all these extra hits, but still again we're trying to get fans in the seats, so we're trying to play, a real fast paced, long ball type game, and that's probably why I limp a lot nowadays, right? Because I took a lot of extra hits because of it, but I wouldn't change anything.
Go ahead, Mel. Or if not, I have a couple, and these are really fun. I'm going to enjoy. I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Your answer can be as long as you want it to be, but these are to kind of get to people kind of in with what you had going on during game day. So that would be any game day superstitions or rituals.
Yes, I had to walk out on the field before every game, before I even got dressed, and I would have my headphones on and I would be playing music.
Well, we apologize for technical difficulties at the moment. We will try to get these guys back on.
We're good, Mel. You kind of keep having an issue cutting out, but me.
But for the most part, you guys gotta understand, back then the Arena Football League was finally finding its stride, and the TV deal was kicking in with NBC. So a lot of these games were exciting. It's just a matter of getting your people to believe in it.
For sure.
And I think that was where the stigma
sorry about that.
came in. Kurt Warner was that. It's like, okay, well, I keep cutting out. So I'm going to.
I was trying to get a message across to Mel that he was the one cutting out, because every time you come back in and you think everybody was there. But as we were saying, you were talking about headphones in, music locked in for your game day superstitions and rituals.
And so I just lay down under the goalpost of the end zone, and I'm just basically taught. I got a football, and I would spin the ball, probably 100 times, right? But as I'm spinning the ball, I'm just visualizing, the good things that I think are going to happen, visualizing how I'm going to react if a bad thing happens, and things like that. But I would do that every single time, and I really felt like it would help me get locked in before a game.
100%. Favorite pregame meal?
So this one's so hard because I love to eat, but I didn't feel comfortable eating a lot on game day. So I would look at my backup quarterbacks, and they'd be sitting there at the pregame meal, and they're just going to town. And you get these really good meals. You're getting steak and chicken and mashed potatoes, and again, especially the times when we weren't making a lot of money, that was a big meal, right? And I wanted to eat it, but it was really, it would always be just, I would go in the mornings to IHOP, get pancakes, eggs, stuff like that. So that was actually my favorite meal. By the time I got to pregame, I was really just eating enough pasta and some protein just to kind of hold me over, really, more than anything.
I 100% understand that. As I played some college soccer, I played soccer as my whole life.
Okay.
Game days were awful for me. Like
Right.
so amped up, nervous stomach. Food was the last thing on my mind. So I
Right.
100% understand that. Not least favorite city to play in.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to say, and I don't know if she's gonna end up watching this, but I'm gonna have to say Jacksonville, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because that's where I met my wife, and we got two little boys now. One of them's actually named Jackson after Jacksonville, so I'm gonna roll with Jacksonville. Plus, that's where I won the championship. But there were a lot of great cities. Iowa was incredible. Those fans were, a whole different. It was a whole different world. They literally treated us like the Dallas Cowboys, there in Des Moines. Arizona was great. Orlando was great. So yeah, there were a lot of great cities, but I'll go with Jacksonville.
Your least favorite road city to play in?
I'm going to say either Orlando because they knocked me out of the playoffs for several years, and then I'm going to say Spokane. Spokane was crazy. Spokane, their fans were they were educated. Like they'd literally go into your background and figure out, things that mistakes you made, or they know things about you that no one else knew. Right? I remember them. They were the first ones that would started chanting Rogaine, and that's kind of where I had to go. I had to finally let it go and shave the right. But they were probably, and it was a small arena, so they were right on top of you, and it was a tough place to play. I definitely remember that.
No, I can understand that. Let's go with this. The best sports advice you were ever given.
Best sports advice I was ever given. Well, so we still have a saying in my family. My dad started it. My dad, like I said, was a coach of mine, and every game in warmups, the coaches are walking around and they're just saying something to each player, right? And he would just come to me and he would say three words. It was from the heart, and basically he was just telling me, just play from your heart. Everything else you've put in the time, you've done the work. You know what you're supposed to do. Don't overthink it, right? Don't try and be too much. Just play from your heart. And we still, I mean, anything serious we say to each other in our family, whether it's my kids, whether it's my parents, we end it with from the heart. And that's kind of the best advice I think I ever got.
Okay, I got two more sports related and two more non-sports related for you. So, your favorite play that is not your game-winning touchdown or your game-winning championship throw?
Well, so it was Poco. I didn't throw the Poco on that play, but that was my favorite one. Like I spent so much time with my receivers, and one of my favorite stats as a quarterback was that I probably played with 8 to 10 receivers, like Mike Furry, Kevin Swain, guys like that all got signed by the NFL. And so I always took pride in the fact that we played so well that they hadn't been discovered before we played together, and they ended up getting signed by NFL teams, and some of them having some really good careers. But yeah, I would roll with Poco because I like I said, I didn't know what they were going to do. We had to get on the same page and make that decision in the middle of a play.
I have one question, or one more. I'm gonna sneak one more in before I get to the non-sports ones. You're now an athletic director. What is the most, now you're the most important person at the top, I should say. What is it like being the most important person who has the least amount of control on the field of what happens?
It's hard. It's not. It really is. And I don't know how many times I get the call, from a parent. It's like, I'm not that parent. I'm like, yes, you are that parent, right? Like, when you start to sense with that, that's what's going on here. And then you got coaches who obviously, if you're a head coach, you have to have a certain ego. You have to have, you want to have a certain amount of control and things like that. So I'm trying to manage those situations for these kids. But it's great because I get to kind of see it from the top, and I get to see them in the classroom. We're a Christian high school, so I get to see them in chapel and see them develop, on and off the field. And so I love the job, but it can be frustrating, and it's really hard to not take it home with you. So that's kind of it's definitely a different job.
Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up because that'll actually lead into my last two, which are kind of non-football at all related. So you have 5 children.
Yes.
What is your best bit of parenting advice?
Ooh. Just I think don't ever stop learning, and make sure that you treat each one of them according to their own, personalities, right? They're all different. I can go from the oldest, to the youngest. Right now, my youngest is he's bad, right? He's 4 years old and he's bad, and yeah,
I have a
and
4-year-old.
but it's because he's around 4 older siblings that he thinks he's grown, and you really can't tell him anything. And another piece of advice, um, my 3 older children's mom, her mom gave me is as you're disciplining them, don't break that spirit, right? You think about, when you're breaking a horse, don't break their spirit, right? Yes, you have to channel them, you have to, guide them, and provide certain parameters, but you want them to have that passion and that spirit that makes them who they are.
And then, because you are married, your best bit of marriage advice through all of this stuff that you have gone through in navigating a professional career and kids and coaching and all of that.
Save your money.
I'm gonna say let them win, right? Just let them win. And it's hard as a competitor, right? We get in arguments, and I swear I can win it. I swear I can, and I can't, right? Like they used to say the wall in arena football is undefeated.
It is.
The wife is undefeated, right? It
Mhm.
just it's a no-win situation. So, but just I think treat your marriage the same as I tried to treat my football career, and just keep working, keep persevering. I made mistakes in relationships, early that brought me to this point. And again, just like football, I wouldn't change it, but just keep learning.
Awesome. Thank you very much for running through some of those rapid fires and dealing with a bit of our technical difficulties that we were having. We really, really appreciate you coming in and having a conversation with us
No
tonight.
problem. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, now before we go, I mentioned earlier that you are the GOAT, and I've taken you over Tom Brady. Let me run down this for those at home watching why I say this. Tom Brady has 84,214 passing yards, 649 touchdowns, 212 interceptions, 28 rushing touchdowns, even though this man has no speed at all. He's at a 64% completion percentage and a 97% passer rating. For those at home, that's the QBR. He's also got 7 seasons where he's got 4,000 yards or more passing. You, sir, have 62,159 passing yards. For those at home watching, that's 35 miles. That's 35 miles. I did the math. That's 35 miles. 1,336 touchdowns. That's more than any other quarterback ever, like you said. 229 interceptions. As a gunslinger, you're going to throw some interceptions. So I'm not even going to count half of them. Obviously, you got more speed than Tom Brady because you clearly dust him in the rushing touchdowns with 46. Your QBR is higher than Tom Brady's at 115.7. And you're just a smidge under completion percentage with 63.7. And you also have 4,000 yard seasons that are 7 like Brady's. If you were on a 100-yard field, I am honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, believing, and Nikita says she can't even run one. But honestly, in all honesty, I am without a shadow of a doubt 100% certain you and Brady would probably be 1 and 2. He'd probably be number 2 if you could have had the same career length. I ain't even gonna say the same career length. If you could have gave us 3 more seasons, I'm quite sure you would have beaten this man, no problem.
Well, yeah, and I don't think people understand, right? They were rolling that turf out on top of ice sometimes, right, or on top of
Mm-hmm.
cement, right? It wasn't, we were like, it wasn't fun to land on that. And then
No.
again, you're looking at a situation where they know you're throwing the ball every time, pretty much. So those D
Yeah.
linemen pinning their ears back and coming. So, yeah, there are a lot of things that compare. And I think I'm a huge Joe Montana guy, even though he's a Niner, right? I think Joe Montana is the best to ever play, but I think Tom is incredible, right? But it's fun to watch these guys nowadays. I really think, at six, I was always trying to hit 6'1". I never did, right? So at 6 foot back then, they weren't taking guys like that. They weren't. You had the Drew Bledsoes, the Jim Everett's, all these guys had, you had to be back then, 6'4", 6'5", and so I love watching it now. I love that people are finally realizing, and I see a lot of concepts in the game now that came from the Arena Football League, right? You see some of these short bubble screens and some of these things and choice routes that you're talking about, and even some of the read stuff, running the ball. A lot of those touchdowns you're talking about, we had a play where I would read the end and I'm either giving it, or I'm keeping it, and a lot of times I ended up keeping it. So it's just fun to watch it develop, and I really hope it comes back strong, because I think it's a great game.
One more thing. I was told by somebody you played against to throw this picture up and give us your thoughts. Do you remember these two guys? Because you were playing in New York, you saw these two a lot. So what are your thoughts on these two guys?
I think I think you had clicked out, when you were having the technical difficulties, but I was telling Ken that one of my worst places to play was Orlando because they
The
had knocked us
jungle.
out of the playoffs. And the thing about them was Mace would play super high. I hated it because he knew I wanted to go deep every time, right? So he would play 25 yards deep. And then Kenny he knew the game so well, Kenny McIntyre, that he would just rob all the underneath stuff. And so they really had a good concept. It was probably the best concept defending our specific offense. Other teams would try and come up and play man and do those kind of things, and we would kill them. But it was tough. And then, with Jay Gruden as the coach, his brother John, I was telling you, would send him a couple defensive ends at the end of every year that they had cut, and these guys would come in and we'd beat them during the regular season, then we get in the playoffs, and these guys would come in with just this ridiculous pass rush and shut us down. And so they were a great tandem, probably one of the best, if not the best tandems in arena football history.
Uh, I agree. Now, because you brought up Orlando, you got to play in the jungle. What is that like when you try to get your receivers to run a certain route, knowing that the back corner of the end zones are rounded off instead of squared like they were when you're at home in New York? Did you ever get frustrated trying to run certain plays in that arena?
Super frustrated, right? Because when I tell you that offense was built around going to the post or the corner, both of those are the corners. It's just you're picking, are you going to the right or left corner? And so that cuts down, has to make you be more accurate. Your receivers got to catch balls and get, sometimes hit over the wall, right? Get smashed into the wall. So that they definitely had an advantage there as well. If you get us in a squared end zone, I say maybe a couple of those games we lost, we're beating them, but they won't agree. But yeah, it was hard. And then the other thing was that net back there, it was playable. So, when you're on the big field, you're teaching a quarterback in the back of the end zone, you throw it where your guy can catch it or nobody can, so you're putting it up and letting him go up and get it. Well, if they don't go up and get it and it bounces off that net, that accounts for an interception as well. So, yeah, it was crazy.
Looking at this list, because we always look up stats. I'm a big stat guy. I didn't realize how far you had literally transpired yourself ahead of everybody else. I'm looking at the all-time career leaders, and Ken, you got to hear this list because some of these guys were, them, like you grew up watching them in some way, shape, or form. Mark Green, Clint Dozell, Andy Kelly, former Tennessee quarterback, Shredrick Bronner. I'm still not happy about him either. Tommy Grady, John Dutton, Dan Rodabaugh, John Kaleo, Nick Davila, Todd Hamill, Ray Filliall. Ray, we looking for you too, man. Shane Stafford, Tony Graziani, and Jay Gruden. Did you ever think, I'm pretty sure you still speak to some of these guys now, but did you ever think you would get as far as you did on the career list or was it just you going out there having fun?
It really was just me going out there and having fun. And people would always ask why are you still playing? Why are you still doing this? And I love the process. I love the game. I love the journey. I loved the off-season work. To get that in. I'm trying to get myself back in the gym because I was in there daily. That entire time. So yeah, no, I never really did. And even looking back now, I don't really. Those names are incredible names. I would say almost every single one of them I would consider a friend, and I still talk to some of them. And so, no, it's just I'm very humbled, but also, proud to be on that and be at the top of it,
Yeah, man, because like I watched you growing up, like I said, hated you, but respected your play because you were that guy, clutch quarterback. No matter where you were playing, you were always clutch. And now looking at the list, I literally watched Andy Kelly. Like, I watched him. He was at Tennessee, SEC football, ESPN on a Saturday. He ended up playing for Nashville from a good portion of his career. I grew up watching Jay Gruden in the Zubaz uniforms. For those watching, the best way I could describe these uniforms was go look at a pro wrestler from the 90s on an off day. Shout out to Dame. Dame, great quarterback in his own right. Sucks at Tecmo Bowl, but a great quarterback in his own right. But I just remember watching you and watching this group of quarterbacks, even Fred McNair. There's like you played around so many legends and became a legend. Does it even does it really like set in at all when younger guys come up to you that know you say, "Hey, I grew up watching you"?
No, it really doesn't. And my kids get mad because, wherever we go, I know somebody, right? And it's a really big quote unquote fraternity, but family of guys that grinded over that amount of time, And I remember when I'm playing at the end of my career, and I'm old, right? I didn't retire till I was 42, and guys are hitting me, and one guy, because out of respect, is going to pick me up, and another guy's mad because they're losing, so he's like, "Don't pick up that old man," or whatever. But just it was. I love the game. I love everybody that did what they did because they really did play it for the love, right? We weren't making a lot of money. We were making enough, and I still consider blessed to have been able to do it. But it was a different breed of person that played it. We saw a lot of NFL guys come in that couldn't compete in that game, and
It's a very
and
hard
didn't last very
transition.
long. Yeah, and so no, it was take a lot of pride in it, and really hope it comes back. But
You
just so you guys know, and I'm gonna have to wrap up. I'm supposed to be on a train called Polar Express with my two youngest in about a half hour. So I don't want the wife to go
We
in and
ain't
keep
getting
me
you in
dinner.
no trouble and tell the wife we don't want no smoke.
absolutely
Exactly.
right. Real quick before you go, Coach. Any love you want? Give some love to your school.
Yeah, Capital Christian High School. We're actually in a transition period where we're going to be changing names and things like that. But just a lot of great kids, athletes. I would enlarge this poster behind me, but we got Mauricio Dubon won a Gold Glove this year. We
Nice.
got some professionals, a lot of kids in college. My son, I'm a shout out to Anthony Garcia. They're San Jose State's going to the Hawaii Bowl. He's a red shirt, but he's going to be competing this spring for a starting job, and just can't wait to see his career unfold. So, yeah, just a lot of love for Capital Christian for sure.
And we'll be looking out for him on the Strawbro Sports Show because we cover college football, so we will be keeping an eye
Yeah,
on them as well.
let me know. We'll get him on here. I'll come back for sure. I enjoy these kind of things, and I'm glad that we caught up with each other.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate
We
you.
really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
You
you
guys
very
take care.
much.
All right.
You too. All right. That was Aaron Garcia, arena football legend, the greatest passer to ever play the game. And if you can't tell me different, the stats say he threw more touchdowns than Tom Brady could ever throw. I don't care if the field is short or longer. He did it.
Nope.
He did it.
And that was,
Now,
I got to bring it up, Mel. that was one of the awesome parts about watching these highlights and these clips was me going, I've seen these before. I just didn't realize as a young kid this is what I was watching. So to put that together was really awesome.
Yeah, like I said, man, watching Andy Kelly, like I literally watched Andy Kelly get beat up by Georgia, Alabama, and Florida on Saturdays, and then he ends up in the Arena League, and he's on the all-time passing list. So, you know, just watching how the game has evolved and how these guys have evolved themselves as players, coaches, even in retirement, it's like it's almost surreal. Dame, I talk about the Tecmo Bowl because you you gotta understand, Dame. You do a lot of this. You do a lot of this on the sticks, and I had me and Barry had to show you what it was, man. Anytime you're ready, man, we can do it again. Anytime you're back in town, we can do it again. We can do it. Me and Barry will take you up top again.
I want no
Ken,
smoke. I
I was
want
about
no
to say,
smoke.
Ken, if you want it, you can get it too. Don't.
Unfortunately, you guys are a little older than me, so the original Sega is as far as I go.
Ah, you city. But meanwhile, we actually have to go back to some lines that we were talking about because this is important.
We ended on the Browns.
Yeah, I'm going with the Browns by 3. The Jags are a tough team. Like I said, the Jags are a tough team. And because they are a tough team, you have to factor in the quarterback issue. The quarterback issue for the Jags is that you don't know if you're going to have Trevor Lawrence or not. That's your only issue. Your defense is good. Your running game with ETN is just as good as the Browns. The Browns' issue is, can everybody come into this game healthy? Hopkins is more than earned his money. As far as the kicker is concerned, he's more than earned his money. Because I take him over Cade York any day. I take myself over Cade York, and I don't even care.
You may have faded out, Mel, because you were talking to Aaron on the other side. You brought up kickers for the Browns. So one of the things that I brought up, and then I want to bring up Mom's question. Dustin Hopkins over 1.5 field goals plus 100, easy money. Lock it in, take that home to the bank.
Of course. If you're in range, if you're in his range, why not?
So Mel,
why not?
Mom has a question for you.
Okay. Do I think Flacco should be the quarterback? Abso-freaking-lutely. Here's why. You are having. Let me start over. I'm not even gonna say you are having. Let's start from here. Everybody's mad that Watson got $230 million and, according to a fan, has not shown he's worth that money. Here's your issue. He's being paid guaranteed money. The problem is he lost half his offensive line.
And his running back.
And his running back. He lost half of his offensive line and his running back within the first 3 weeks.
And not just a running back. Not just a running back.
Yes, he lost the running back. So, and then keep this in mind, folks, since y'all got a problem with the way Watson is played and the way Watson has looked. He beat Baltimore hurt. He beat Baltimore hurt. He busted up his ankle. He busted up his shoulder. What more do you want from this man? And let me throw this at y'all too. Y'all mad about this man getting $230 million guaranteed money. Let me ask you people at home who are Browns fans a question. Did that money come out of your pocket personally? No. Did that money come out of your job's paycheck? Like the guy who pays your job, your salary, wherever you work. Did that money come from him? No. That money came from the Haslams. The only thing that you're going to have to worry about is possibly a hike in ticket sales. That's it. That's it. That money didn't come out of your pocket. That money didn't even come out of your kid's trust fund. That came from the Haslams. So, with that being said, relax. And the Browns did the smart thing. They called a quarterback who knows the division. Because that's really what you have to do. You have to keep up in the division first. before you could think about winning outside of the conference. You beat the 49ers, who are arguably the best team in football right now. You beat Baltimore, who's tops in your division. So you split with Baltimore, you split with Pittsburgh. You sweep Cincinnati, you got a good shot at winning the division, especially if Pittsburgh can take over beating Baltimore again and then beat the Bengals. You got a great shot at this. So, yes, Mom, I think Flacco should start. I really think Flacco should start the rest of the season, uh, given DTR's concussive situation. I don't trust PJ Walker anymore after the Seattle game. And I'm speaking as an analyst now, not a fan. I'm speaking as an analyst. I do not trust PJ Walker anymore. Looking at that Seattle game was very winnable. You would have been 2 games up actually 3 games up against the NFC West. You beat San Francisco, you beat the Cardinals, you would have beat Seattle, and you probably would have had a problem with the Rams like you did 2 weeks ago. But regardless of that, had you got Flacco around that time you had to go to Seattle, you probably be 3-1 against the NFC West. Now you're 2-2. And that's going to play a part in the division race when it comes to head-to-head games. But, Mom, I do think Flacco should start. Flacco knows the division. He's very good with the ball. He's not going to PJ Walker it and throw the ball right at a Seahawk helmet head. And you got a shot to make the playoffs. You've even got a shot to jump Pittsburgh and take the 5th seed. And that's highly important because you may not have to go that far. It's what? The number 1 seed gets a bye?
Yes.
So 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. If you jump that, you might see Baltimore again or Jacksonville, depending on how everything shakes out with those divisions. So take care of the division games, and then when your schedule is not that bad the rest of the way, this Jacksonville game is very winnable.
Absolutely.
And like I said, you got the Bears next after this. Out of the entire rest of the Browns schedule, the only team that really makes me nervous is the Texans. And I never thought I'd hear myself say that. The Texans.
CJ Stroud
is lighting it up. And they always talk about Ohio State quarterbacks are not really good when they come out. That's a bull-faced lie. That's bullshit.
It's been a fair criticism. It's been a fair criticism.
It's not been a fair criticism. The only problem you had with Troy Smith was that he was too short. Troy was a great quarterback. He was accurate. But go back and watch some of those Baltimore games. He actually could play. He could move. CJ ain't that much taller than Troy in reality. CJ's what, 6'2", 6'3", maybe? Troy was 5'11".
Listen,
if you would have said Kirk Herbstreit, I'd have agreed with you. If you would have said Mike Tomczak, I'd agree with you.
Krenzel,
hey, that man can split an atom. I ain't fucking with him. Anytime you play with a quarterback that can split an atom, leave him alone. Don't say nothing. Just leave him alone.
I pretty much do a podcast with one, so I get it. It's a losing argument.
Yeah, because he's gonna scientifically break you down and not even have to throw the ball.
He's gonna Excel spreadsheet me to death. There's nothing I can do.
Right. Okay, moving on. This also has implications for both teams in both divisions. It's another NFC West versus AFC North matchup. Rams, Ravens. Rams come off the win against the Browns. Ravens are coming off another win themselves. Lamar Jackson was not practicing today because he's sick. Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. And you know Aaron Donald can move. What do you do? What's the line?
First of all, the line currently is 7.5 to the Ravens. So something to watch out for as we go along the week with with Lamar Jackson potentially not playing. the knock on Lamar is that he gets hurt and he misses games, and it's true, he does. He also he has got to lead the league in like being the most unhealthiest player to not break any bones. Okay. Um, and I mean, as in terms of always being sick, the multiple times, the incident where he had to go to the bathroom, but he says he didn't, but we all know he had to go to the bathroom. Lamar's always got something weird going on. So there's that. Ravens -7.5. I think this is going to be a good game. The over here is 40.5. I think that we can touch that. I think that's something we might want to sprinkle a little bit on. Here's what I do love. Okay. Barring Lamar's sickness not getting worse and for some reason him not playing, I like Kyron Williams of the Rams, anytime touchdown. Put that with Lamar over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Yes, he's going to throw 2 for plus 415. I really like that.
Here's the thing, and I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are not going to be happy about it, but this is the truth. Remember at the beginning of the season, the mainstream sports media was saying Lamar Jackson needs to stay in the pocket more and throw. Lamar Jackson needs to work on his accuracy. I don't think y'all realize this, and I'm talking to the fans and people in the media that don't want to point this out. Not saying that they won't. I'm just saying they don't want to. The last 3 times that Lamar Jackson has seriously gotten hurt, where was he at?
In the pocket.
He was in the pocket. Exactly. Let this man do what he knows how to do and create making plays, which means whenever he has to leave the pocket, he becomes a threat. That's not him wanting to run. You look at Randall Cunningham with the Eagles. Randall did not have a great offensive line. So anytime that pocket broke down, he had to move. Lamar Jackson has a great offensive line, but guess what? He's going up against great defensive lines as well. With the Steelers, with the Browns, with the Rams coming up with Aaron Darnold. He's not seeing the Jets line every week. He's seeing somebody that wants to put him on IR. All right. So stop saying he needs to run, he needs to move or stay in the pocket and get rid of the ball. Let that man make plays. That's what he does. That's what you pay him for. That's why you drafted him. That's why he told y'all he was not playing no other position other than quarterback. All right. I have to go ahead.
I want to touch on something before you leave this game.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So you brought this up. The negativity. See, yeah, and I'm going to bring this up because I'm going to talk about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dame's right.
Absolutely. So we try to box these quarterbacks up, and especially when Lamar got into the league, it was still very much we want you to, and obviously he was there dominating, but we want you to be like Tom Brady. We want you to be like Joe Montana. We want you to be 6-foot statues who just stand in the pocket and slinging around. Now, don't get me wrong. Those can still win. Okay. Mm-hmm. Look at the talent Justin Herbert has as a quarterback. Okay. Look at the, as much as we like to, talk about Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes, they kill you from inside the pocket as well. Aaron Rodgers. Okay. So I get the want to have a quarterback in there. It's not what has made Lamar successful. And I have a question to throw back at you, Mel. Do you think, because at the beginning of his career and even a little bit now, the criticisms on Lamar's throwing ability were justified. Okay. There were some playoff losses that were really bad because he couldn't complete some passes. However, do you now kind of feel like Lamar is underrated because of the way Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, some of these other Kyler Murray, some of these Justin Fields, some of these other guys are now so electric that it's almost kind of like we forgot how good this guy was because now we don't criticize the quarterbacks for doing it, but we left behind the last guy we were killing for not being in the pocket.
I do. He's matured a lot, and Dame, you are absolutely right. He has matured. And the thing about his maturation is I'm gonna leave that up. The thing about his maturation is he still knows what he needs to do when it's game time. Meaning he's not gonna always stay in the pocket. Like I said, you go back to Randall Cunningham, because Randall Cunningham was that guy. He was what Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick are now. Even I'll even say Josh Allen. He was what they are now. The dual threat quarterback. He can throw it, he can run it. You better pick your poison. The problem with this is when people look at Lamar Jackson and mostly any other quarterback that you would consider dual threat, Josh Allen, Michael Vick, the list goes on. They expect this guy to run to when he use his feet to make the play. I don't think y'all realize a quarterback's first instinct is not to run. It's to get rid of the ball. I'll throw you two people out. And I've talked to people in the NFL, just like Ken has. They will tell you the same thing. There are two people that players absolutely hate. My college coach will tell you this. There's two people in this world, in the game of football, that people absolutely hate. Warren Moon and Dan Marino. Why? Because nobody could get to them in time.
Nope.
Because they throw the ball they get rid of the ball so fast. How do you come against that? How do you Yeah, Steve was that guy as well, but Steve also, again, he was looking to throw it. But Warren Moon and Dan Marino were two quarterbacks that the NFL hated because nobody could get to them. And when you did, you had to celebrate. Lamar's not those. Lamar's not them. Let Lamar be who he is. The playbook is wrapped around Lamar. So when Lamar doesn't have Andrews, he doesn't have Hollywood Brown, it's going to look funny. All the blame is going to fall on him because he's the starting quarterback. But what y'all also don't realize is when he has those guys and they don't come through for him, is that fair? Is that a fair blame?
No,
Let that man do what he do, man.
exactly. And Dane brought up Steve Young just real quick. That's all Lamar is missing. Lamar has followed the trajectory of all these great quarterbacks. The only thing he's missing is the on-field team success. And I've been critical of Lamar's passing ability. So I'm absolutely going to give him this credit. That Baltimore Ravens team has been decimated by injuries on a level. And don't get me wrong, the NFL season usually comes down to who is remaining healthy. But the Ravens have been hit more than most teams have ever been hit. And it's been consistent.
Keep in mind, before we move on to our next game, keep this in mind too. The Ravens don't have a running game to speak of. They have a running back, but they don't have a running game.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson is the leading rusher for that team. If you give Lamar Jackson, just throwing this out there, if you give Lamar Jackson, let's say, I don't know, Priest Holmes. If you give Lamar Jackson Priest Holmes, if you give Lamar Jackson Nick Chubb, do you think we're having this conversation? Absolutely not.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Even though, like I said, I don't like the Ratbirds, but I gotta respect them. They lead the division. The 9-3 Lions versus the woeful Bears. Barry Sanders would be proud of his Lions. I actually watched the documentary Bye Bye Barry. Y'all need to go and watch that. It's a lot of information that we don't get from the media and we didn't get back in 99, but I recommend watching that. Aside from that, I'm looking at this. The line is minus 3.5. Do you go with that?
I found it at -3, but either way, I like it. Okay. I know these division games have been a little bit of a hiccup for the Bears. We saw what the Packers went and did to them on Thanksgiving morning. However, the Packers are not playing the same as before. Okay. They're playing a lot better. So I do like this Lions line. The other thing that I really, really like here, don't call me crazy, because it's going to involve Jared Goff passing yards. But I like a St. Brown touchdown anytime. Mix that in with over 240 for Jared Goff. That's plus 264. Take that to the bank. This Bears defense is not great. And I think we're going to see a shift this week. I think we're going to see a shift for the teams that are realizing it's time to shift in the tank. It's time to shift into tank gear. And I think Chicago is more than ready to be there.
I'm going with the Lions on this one as well. I mean, damn the line. You haven't seen the Lions look like this since Megatron was here.
No.
Now, I do have to ask you this
Uh-oh.
because even though Dame is saying he's having nightmares again about Barry Sanders and Tecmo Bowl, told you, man, Barry's that dude in Tecmo Bowl. But I do have to ask you this because we've all been hearing rumblings. We finally got a chance to talk about it on the air. Fans in Chicago have been clamoring and saying it's time to move on from Justin Fields. What are your thoughts?
All right. So I'm gonna hopefully we don't go viral here. So one of my I got to talk a lot of smack on this week's episode of the Strawbro Sports Show. Check us out on YouTube, on the 216 Sports Network YouTube and Facebook page. I gave
Shameless
myself
plug.
shameless plug, 216 Sports Network. I gave myself a lot of dat because I preseason predicted a one-loss Alabama team, Texas and Washington to be in the playoffs. I also predicted that Justin Fields would win NFL comeback and most improved player. So just so you know that I'm going to talk a lot of smack and give myself some credit, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I thought Justin Fields would make a leap. Okay. I thought Justin Fields would. There were flashes last year, and I stand by this because we just got done talking about Lamar Jackson. Here's a hot take for you. I think in terms of football, which means absorbing hits and getting out of bounds, not just pure athleticism, because as a pure athlete, not many people can touch Lamar Jackson. I think as a football runner, Justin Fields is just as good, if not better. Some of the plays that he is able to make with his legs are flat out amazing, and he doesn't take hits, and he doesn't take bad roll-ups, and he gets himself out of bounds. So I believe Justin Fields is a really, really good quarterback, and I think he's in a bad situation. I think he's been in a bad situation that's not getting any better. So I don't agree with the fans of Chicago. I still think he can be good. And here, let me give this to you. Jalen Hurts was a quarterback that we were talking about potentially being benched and a bust until A.J. Brown came on the scene and his Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith showed up as well with him. Josh Allen was a pedestrian, great, good quarterback until Stephon Diggs showed up. Okay. We can also look at what Patrick Mahomes has done with a reduced wide receiver core. And we can also look at what we were talking about Tua, not just with injury. We were talking about Tua being benched because we weren't certain he was good enough until Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle showed up. Could you imagine what Justin Fields could do with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a top offensive lineman?
That's why I was going with this. I'm not agreeing with the fans in Chicago. I'm not agreeing with the mainstream media. Here's why. Great quarterback, because again, the Ohio State quarterbacks get the knock for not being very good. But here's the problem in this very scenario. Great quarterback, bad situation.
Bad isn't a good enough word, Mel.
I can't. Mom's watching. Your mom's watching. I don't know if my mom's watching.
I know.
But your mom's watching, so I'm not gonna say what I want to say.
But that is how bad it is.
Good quarterback, bad situation. Now, here's why I'm saying this. Let's go back a few years. I wish we were using the new software so I could do the little star twinkle. But let's go back a few years. Matt Nagy's the head coach. Mitch Trubisky is your starting quarterback. For 2 years, they went back-to-back playoff spots. Here's the problem. They did not improve no part of the team that they needed to improve each year. So what happens when Matt Nagy is telling you what he needs? He's even said it on the air to Chicago media. I need better offensive linemen. I need a running game. Get me those two. Mind you, the same Matt Nagy we're talking about was also a quarterback that Aaron Garcia was playing against in the Arena League. So yes, you're sitting up here talking about the full circle. Yeah, exactly. You're sitting here talking about,
ladies and gentlemen, that's called bringing it full circle.
Yes, it is. And you're sitting here talking about bringing, telling us that Matt Nagy didn't know how to coach. You did not give this man what he asked for. And then Mitch Trubisky takes a slide. So now it's Mitch Trubisky's fault because he's not playing up to the standards that fans and other people in the media think that he should. But here's the problem. Did you improve your offensive line? No. Did you improve your running game? Hell no. Now, you
They
draft
did.
Justin Fields.
They did upgrade the skill positions a little
But
bit.
you didn't upgrade the line. You didn't upgrade
No.
the line and you didn't get him a running back.
Nope.
Again, fast forward. You draft Justin Fields, you ship off Trubisky to Pittsburgh. You're doing the same shit that you did to Trubisky, and you're trying to blame the quarterback for something that's an easy fix. You know how it's an easy fix, and you know why I'm going to say it? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Shout out to Ashton Day on that one. This is why it's an easy fix. The USFL and the XFL play in the spring. If you can't get a lineman that you can afford in your salary cap or a few in your salary cap, you can go to the XFL and to the USFL and rent 5 for the price of 1. All right. You can go get 5 linemen from either league for the price of 1. You could spend $5 million and get you 5 linemen that you could rent for the season. And you did not do that. You could go get you a running back from the USFL or the XFL for cheap. And you did not do that. And this is to the Chicago fans. Your front office did not do any of that. And you want to blame Justin Fields, who's trying to stay alive. That's literally all he's trying to do. He's trying to stay alive. And you're blaming him for a front office issue. That's not fair.
And it's not just front office. The coaching has been bad. Chicago has been bad from top to bottom. I mean, it's just facts.
Do you realize, since you brought it up, do you realize Chicago's been bad since they got rid of Lovie Smith?
And that was a bad.
Outside of the first 2 years that Matt Nagy was there, they've been bad.
And there was a lot of people in Chicago who did not want to get rid of Lovie Smith.
I was one of them, and I ain't even in Chicago.
So, okay. So I'm going to take over for the next game because this is going to be a...
Yeah. Moving on. We got a couple more games. Moving on. Vikings and Raiders. Actually, no. Panthers and Saints. Both teams suck. The Saints just happen to have 4 more wins than the Panthers.
I'm going to do something I don't normally do here, Mel. First of all, it's Saints minus 5.5. I don't care anything about that. Here is something that I do not normally do. 37.5. Take the under. I know I'm an over guy. Take the under.
I'm going with the Saints. It's not Bryce Young's fault. Let's start there. It's not. They fired their coach. The team is in shambles. It's a rebuilding year. They knew they were tanking when they drafted Bryce. They should have told Bryce that they were tanking.
He could have pulled up limp on one of those injuries and been like, "Yeah, I'm out. Sorry."
Yeah, but
Who the kid in?
regardless of all of this, I'm going with the Saints. And I honestly, I'm going with the over on this because here's why. It's a divisional game. Panthers defense haven't been able to stop diarrhea.
Listen, Mel, you don't have to work hard to convince me to take an over, okay?
I know, but in this situation, for whatever reason, something's telling me take the over just because, like I said, the Panthers defense has not stopped anybody. They're 1-11. It's a division game. The Saints still have a little bit of hope. It's not a lot, but this would this would be that game you look at in high school where you know you're gonna kill this team. So coach is gonna pull everybody at halftime. So you just walk in. All right, y'all, look. You know, coach gonna pull us at halftime and put the JV in. So let's get all our stats up before coach pull us. So I'm going with the over. I never even bet, but I'm going with the over. I'm thinking 37, 38 points on this one.
I like it. It's 37.5. I like it.
Next up, Vikings and Raiders. Vikings showed us some promise, beating San Francisco on Monday night. My family was here and they're all 49ers fans. That was a somber day. That was such a somber day. I was nervous. I thought my TV was going to get broke. But the Raiders are still trying to put something together. Minnesota's up as a 3-point favorite. It's in Vegas. I'm gonna just be honest.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna just be honest. The Raiders have not been the same since they left Oakland. I didn't like this move then. I'm not happy with it now. Do I want Vegas to have their own team? I absolutely do. But the problem is you don't have to steal another team. You stole the Browns in Baltimore. You stole the Broncos. Now you didn't steal the Broncos. You stole the Colts in Baltimore. You know, give the Raiders back to Oakland. Let Oakland have a team, man. Just let Oakland have a team. But I got to go with the Vikings on this one. Dobbs has been playing lights out, win or lose. Give me the Vikings, man. What's your take?
Live pod brainstorming. We are going to do a bring teams back to Oakland podcast. Throwing it out there right now. We're gonna prep on this because I agree. Nothing's been the same and it's garbage. So that's a start. The other thing, there are very few things in sports that are very few things in life, but especially in sports. Those are death. Those are taxes. Those are me picking overs. Those are Pac-12 overs. Me picking Notre Dame and the Vikings covering. It's been money majority of the year. So I like Vikings -3. The Raiders are. I believe in the curse of the Raiders. I support cursing the Raiders until Oakland gets a team back. Sorry, Raiders fans. It's your own fault because you can't pick where you want to play. So yeah, give me the Vikings.
All right, that was a no-brainer. This one I'm not gonna say is a no-brainer, but this one is an interesting take on sports. Seahawks and Niners. 2 out of the 3 losses the Niners have taken have come to teams that are fighting for a playoff spot right now. One being the Vikings, one being the Browns. The 49ers just dog walked the Eagles. And honestly, that makes me nervous for the Seahawks. Seahawks, as much as I love Geno, you got Chase Young and you got Bosa on the same side. Remember what happened to the Jaguars. And here's the correlation with why I'm bringing that game up. Who's the quarterback and the running back for Jacksonville? ETN and Trevor Lawrence. Where did they go?
Ooh, throw it to me, Mel.
Go ahead.
Throw it to me. Clemson. Come on, that was an easy one. I had that.
Okay, now you got Bosa and Chase Young on the same side, and they're still pissed from them games. I can guarantee it. So in this game, it's really the 49ers game to lose. The 49ers are a 10.5-point favorite. I'm going with the Niners to go by. I'm giving the Niners at least a 20-point win on this one.
Ooh, wow. One of the biggest, Chase Young, the Ohio State thing. When you go back to the Giants teams that upset the Patriots, when you go back to those dominant Steelers teams, when you go back to those Super Bowl Patriot teams, when you go to the Ravens, when you go to the Seahawks or the Tampa Bay Bucks, all of those winning teams had a very good formula, and that was rush 4 and drop everybody else. If you can get pressure on the quarterback with 4 guys, you are more than likely going to be a good defensive team. Adding Chase Young made an already great off our defensive line an even better defensive line. And that is what is absolutely helping San Francisco right now. On top of the fact that they're staying healthy, no team is as top heavy as San Francisco is. And I mean that in this way. When they line up healthy against along the line of scrimmage against you, they almost have a matchup at every position. You may have a corner who can stop Debo, but you don't have one who can cover who then can turn around and cover Ayuk, who can then turn around and cover George Kittle. You can have a linebacker who could cover Kittle, but you don't have a guy who can cover CMC. They're on it, therefore. But the problem with San Francisco is when they start to lose a couple of those guys,
It's a problem.
it's a problem. Okay, they are your classic, your classic friend who put together a Madden draft, who drafted all the top guys, but the minute a guy goes hurt, there's nobody to replace. And that is what San Francisco is. They're top heavy and they're great, but they are not deep. That's long-term playoffs. As for this week, 46.5 on that over-under. Give me all of that. CMC, because he keeps scoring touchdowns and you all bet on them, he's minus 350 for an anytime touchdown. Throw that away. Take a look at some of these, though. Brandon Ayuk, plus 130. George Kittle, plus 130. Now, Mel, every once in a while, you got to take that dollar, put it in the slot machine, and hope that you hit sevens.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey to score the first touchdown, DK Metcalf to score the last. That's a pre-built parlay, plus 2,800. That's not a crazy thing.
It's not a crazy thing, but
let's get crazier.
Here's my problem. I don't bet, but I'm going to explain something to the audience for those that do bet. Do I trust Christian McCaffrey to score the first touchdown? Absolutely. Why? Because 90%, if you go back from 1993 till now, 90% of the touchdowns that are scored first in the NFL have been rushing. I'm not even going to say 90. I'll say 65% have been rushing touchdowns. That's a more accurate number. 65% have been rushing touchdowns. The problem with this is on the back end, you said DK Metcalf scored the last touchdown. Can you trust Geno Smith to make that throw to score the last touchdown? No, you cannot. Why can't you trust it? Because he's going up against a defensive line that might break his neck.
That's true, but there might be some garbage time. Now,
garbage time, yes, but
so because that's that last touchdown. Now,
can you count that?
Yeah, no, that's what the bet is. It's that first and last, so it still counts. Now,
okay,
if you really want to take that dollar and you want to hit the lottery, this is what you do. For plus 7,000, okay, that $1 brings you a lot of money, and that will be for Brandon Ayuk to score the first touchdown. Very possible, very possible, and Tyler Lockett to score the last. Garbage time. DK's mad. Lockett gets open. Listen, these are not things that I would necessarily put your money on. But if you want to go, you know what? I call these the Renee bets. That's what I call them in my house because I love her to death. But anytime we try to do some betting and fun as a family, and I bring up one where $5 will bring you 10 or 15 or even 50, that's not enough. That $5 has got to bring you $500,000. So if you're looking for one of those, that's what you want.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, 49ers. Let's keep rolling.
Of course. I already said that. I'm not going with bro, I'm not picking nobody else off of that. Man, if you thought I was picking the Seahawks, you're smoking something I don't want you to smoke. Like, honestly, I really feel like there's after the Eagles game, I feel like that this 49ers team is prime. They are prime. Moving on. A traditional Tecmo Bowl game. Bills and Chiefs. The Chiefs, and I'm going to go with Uncle Shannon on this one. The Chiefs nobody's afraid of the Chiefs anymore. This is not the same Chiefs team that won the Super Bowl twice in the last 4 years. But they're going up against a struggling Bills team. Mahomes and Auto are still slinging the ball, catching the field, and producing touchdowns. Mom says, I'm going to put this up. Mom says the Chiefs got this. The Chiefs are at home. I got to go with the Chiefs. Arrowhead is a tough place to play for anybody. You saw what happened to the Browns, and the Browns came within a yard or two and a blown call from beating the Chiefs on the way to the Super Bowl. So, Bills don't have a running game. Josh Allen is the running game. Josh Allen is also the quarterback. It's too much on Josh, and I gotta go with the Chiefs.
Chiefs 1.5-point favorites. I listen. I agree. Nobody is afraid of the Chiefs, but they are still the Chiefs. They still have Patty Mahomes. The Bills have been in all of these games. Okay, even the ones that they have lost, they have showed that they are a good team. 48.5 is the over under. Come on, people. This is a layup. This is a wide open layup. Go put this home. Anytime wise touchdown odds are horrible on this game because Diggs, Kelsey, Pacheco, and Edwards Lair are all minus. So they're all kind of off the board for me in terms of wanting some value. But here's two I like. Dalton Kincaid plus 145, James Cook plus 185. If you switch over to ESPN Bet, they do a yes to score, no to score, plus 200 and plus 175 for both of those guys respectively to go yes to score a touchdown. So there's your value there because I think this is going to be a high scoring game. And I think the Bills get some revenge and go into Arrowhead and get out with a win.
I go with the Chiefs. Like I said, I just don't think this is a high scoring game. I think this is a sloppy game, honestly. I'm thinking 24-16, to be honest.
Which would put us close, but not quite there. Keep it rolling with me, Mel.
All right. The horses and the lightning bolts. For those at home watching, that's the Chargers and the Broncos. Chargers have been struggling all season. They have not been the team that we thought they were going to be. I had actually picked them to win the division, and they have let me down. Russell Wilson is getting back to form amidst the Sierra coming out with a new album rumors. I don't know. It's got to be a better situation than the Taylor Swift thing. I want to go with the Chargers, but something is telling me this Broncos defense is getting healthier. And looking at it when they played the Browns, and here's the thing with that game: the Browns were shredding the Broncos in the run game. The problem for the Chargers is they don't have one. Not one that scares you. I'm not going to say they don't have a running game. They don't have a running game that scares you. When Chubb went down, the Browns had Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, to a degree, Thompson Robinson, not Thompson Robinson, Moore on the jet sweeps. What do the Chargers really have
Justin Herbert.
behind Herbert? Who do they have? And that's the problem. That's what's bugging me. We talked about it before. The running back position is devalued, and it's a damn shame that it is because clearly you still need a running back. You still need a running game. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you try to justify it. You're blowing smoke out your ass if you tell me you don't need running backs. Jim Irsay, I don't know what he was thinking when he said that, but clearly your team is 7-5. So obviously something about having a running back is working. All right. Justin Herbert don't have that. That's going to cause a problem. You can't throw the ball 70 times a game and think you're going to win. This ain't arena football. You got to slow the game down. You got to tire out a defense. Broncos can tire out a defense with their offense. Chargers have problems stopping the run. The Broncos have problems stopping the run. But the problem is for the Chargers, they ain't got nobody to run the ball for them besides Herbert. So I'm going with the Broncos 28-14.
Broncos, Chargers. Chargers are currently 2.5-point favorites, which is hilarious because so basically back in the day, Vegas would always give the home team a 3-point advantage. So if a team was at home and the line was even, that home team would get that 3 points. Home field advantage has become such not a thing in sports nowadays and these teams are so even that Vegas now has that at 2.5. So if you see a game that is minus 2.5, that means for the most part it is even money line, and they're getting a home field advantage. The Chargers.
Keys, I gotta ask who you agree with, or what do you agree on?
Yeah. Throw in there what you agree on. So here's my problem: the Chargers don't have home field advantage in any way. Whenever they have a home game, their fans are outnumbered by opposing team fans. So it's very unfair to say that you need a running game. Absolutely, of course. Of course you agree that you need a running game because you do. So for the Chargers,
He's you're right.
throw that home field advantage out of there. It's just nonsense.
I didn't even factor that in.
I
That's
know.
not a thing. It's SoFi Stadium. That's not a thing. This
No,
is
and
why.
that's and I was
Before you finish your line, this is what, because we agree on this earlier. This is why I was against moving the Chargers from San Diego, moving the Raiders from Oakland. There's no home field advantage, especially in LA. Nobody cares.
no.
They're
Not,
going because it's a Sunday. It's something to do. The Lakers don't play till later. It's probably a sold out game because LeBron's still playing, but nobody cares. Nobody goes to a Kings game. Nobody has went to an LA Kings game since Gretzky was playing. For real.
right. So I agree. This over under is sitting at 43.5. Okay, I can see it because both of these teams can score. The Chargers can score regardless of the fact they can't play any defense. So two things here. I want to give Russell Wilson some love because he's been consistently good throughout the year. This defense is now playing a lot better. I have said it multiple times. I'm going to wear this record out. The tape is going to unwind. Wow, that's too old for a lot of you. Whatever it might be, I'm gonna stream it until it hits 1 million streams. The defense for the Broncos is not the 70-point game that the Dolphins have. That is not the Broncos defense. It's not.
Let's since you brought that up, let's be real about this. That was a one-off chance that shit was going to happen.
Exactly. There's a reason that's what the league's record. You're not going to see that again. Period. End of story. So that
you haven't seen that since 1933,
exactly,
where the Bears beat the Redskins, or where the Redskins, whoever it was, where they put 73 points up in the championship game. That was a one-off championship game. This is a one-off game. That defense, you're right. That defense is not even close to being the same. That defense is allowing maybe 14 points again, maybe against some of the better teams in the league. You beat the Browns. You beat the Super Bowl. You beat my homie.
So, with that being said, I love Justin Herbert. I would normally take the Chargers here at any point because I think Herbert is that good. But what the problem comes down to is I believe Brandon Staley should be fired. So I'm going to pick against the Chargers. I'm going to pick against the Chargers every single week until Brandon. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to pick against them until Brandon Staley's finally let go because he's the worst head coach in the NFL. So give me the Broncos.
That's graphic. Damn, bro. Tell me how you really feel. All right. You know what? I gotta give you this one on that one, man. Hey, damn, bro. Come on, Skip.
Come on, Skip. It's because I don't got my Henny.
You killing me on that one.
My Henny, Unc, I need my Henny.
That was a bit harsh, man. That was I gotta give you another one on that.
Cup of haters.
I'm not calling you a hater, but damn. I didn't know you could
FT soft.
I didn't realize you could hate a coach that much, and you don't even like the team.
It's just I'm sorry, you're ruining a generational talent.
Fair enough. Moving on. Eagles, your beloved Cowboys and Eagles go off for the division. Honestly, this is going to be the division crown.
Yes.
This game is going to decide the division in the NFC East. Eagles, Cowboys. Cowboys are only a game behind, a game and a half, I believe. It's a game and a half or a game behind, one of the two. Dallas, this is a home game for Dallas. So Dallas is a 3-point favorite. Do you buy that? And honestly, can the Eagles bounce back from that ass whooping that they took from San Fran? Those are my questions to you.
All right. So first things first, 51.5. I love the over. These two teams are going to score. This is absolutely going to be the division decider. Regardless of what people think, I hate watch all of my teams. So I do not. This is scary. Okay. This is the game every year that Dak throws an interception with 2 minutes left, driving up the field to win the game. Except he's yet to do that this year. And he's not been doing that this year. The
If
games
you
we have
got some
lost,
wood, you better knock on it.
I am. The games that we have lost this year have not been Dak's fault. The defense has not played well. I know the offense has struggled in those games, but they've not been surely and fully Dak's fault. The first game against the Eagles, the reason we lost that game was because a knee went down a centimeter before the ball going in and a foot going out of bounds an inch before the ball going over the first down marker. So we're talking a game of inches as always. So we weren't blown out. That being said, the Cowboys are at home. We're a totally different team at home. And yes, Philly is coming strong after what just happened to them against San Francisco. They have some new signings on defense. They are absolutely coming in looking to make the Cowboys the same old Cowboys, but we are not. We them boys. We have continued to beat them boys. And I'm going to pray this doesn't come back to bite me, but we will beat them boys this week. Give me the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys -3.5. And if you want to sprinkle in some touchdowns, Tony Pollard +100, Jake Ferguson +130. On the Eagles side, A.J. Brown and DeAndre Swift +126 and +150. Now that I gave you my score prediction, and I'll throw this back to you. Here's 3 that I really, really like.
Okay.
Each team to score a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, +185. I think that's cakewalk. I think
I'm about to say that goes without saying.
Now, if you want to get historical, and let's say that you think Deron Bland is going to continue this amazing run that he's had of scoring these interceptions, the Dallas defense to score is +440. However, you can go on the ESPN and put a yes bet on Deron Bland to score a touchdown for +2,000.
Wow.
I put that in your lap. What you do what you do with it as you will, but give me the Cowboys and give me all of that.
Normally in our group chat, we do not agree on anything. But this one, I'm going to have to go with you on. That was a tough game for the Eagles to bounce back. This is going to be a tough game for the Eagles to bounce back from after getting beat on the way that they did. I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys because the Cowboys have been looking strong the entire season, even through the losses. And again, this is going to be for the division. Give me the Cowboys by 2.
I love it. Enough said.
And for our final slate or final part of the slate, we got a doubleheader on Monday night. It's a snooze fest actually it's a snooze fest in both of them. Let's just be honest. Packers and Giants. The Packers are playing well. Jordan Love's looking really good, but it's a Giants team that's really not the Giants. They're more like the Tinies, I guess, if you want to call them that. I don't know.
The Mighty Giants?
Nah. Green Bay's 6.5 favorite. I would say 10. The way Jordan Love's been playing. Jordan Love beat Mahomes, dude. Jordan Love beat Mahomes. And nobody expected that to happen. Give me the Packers. I'm gonna say by 10. If that defense plays the way that they did against the Chiefs, it could be ugly by halftime. So give me the Packers by 10.
The over sitting at 37 even, which number one is weird. Number two, I don't know if I like it just because I can see the Packers going up 28-7, 28-0, and just kind of riding it in and coasting on home. I don't think the Giants have a chance. I think it's the best thing ever. Sorry, Cowboys fan. I think it's hilarious. I also really, really, truly hope, just so you know, that I'm not a heartless fan who just enjoys when teams are losing. Saquon Barkley, get out of there and go get a bag and go get some money from a team that is going to use you correctly and keep you healthy as well and not make you the entire offense so you're getting hurt. You can want those Eagles and that's fine, but we them boys. So yeah, give me the Packers here. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Give me the Packers here big, and I'm with you. Hit the snooze button again.
Yeah, hit the Titans visit Miami and play the Dolphins again. This is one of those games where Tua's been playing out of his mind the last 2 seasons, even through the injury. You haven't seen the Dolphins look like this since Marino. Truthfully, since and I'm not saying he's the second coming of Dan Marino. What I'm saying is the Dolphins are primed to win the AFC East. When was the last time we even had the conversation about the Dolphins winning a division? Have we said the Dolphins have been a thorn in the Patriots' ass? Absolutely.
The Chad Pennington Dolphins when Tom Brady got hurt.
That was it. How long ago was that? That was well over 10 years ago.
And remember, I'm giving them love because they won the division, but they didn't. That wasn't expected. Tom Brady got hurt, so we were all like, okay, well, somebody's got to win it now.
Exactly. So that was well over 10 years ago. Henny's been what? Pennington's been retired what? Or Henny? Would you say Chad Henny or Chad Pennington?
Pennington.
But yeah, so Pennington's been retired well over 10 years. So, here's the thing. Let's
the game is bad when this is what we're talking about, old players.
Right. But here, let me throw out a stat that I've thrown out this stat before. But this is a very important stat that people need to pay attention to. When Derrick Henry is held to under 150 yards, the Titans lose. They have 8 losses in 12 games. What does that tell you? Derrick Henry has been held to well under 150 yards in all 8 of those losses. Now, that's not Derrick Henry's fault. That offensive line is old. They can't. It's falling apart. Tannehill is not the Tannehill we saw last year or the year before. The defense is not what you think it is for the Titans. I know some Titans fans. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And you're going up against a modern day gunslinger in Tua. He's got Tyreek Hill, who's arguably the fastest player in the NFL. If you ain't got nobody to keep up with him, if you don't know a sniper that can pick him off before he starts taking off the run, if you ain't even got a tiger to chase Tyreek Hill down, it's not happening. The line is 13.5. My ESPN says it's an even 13.
Oh, FanDuel, my bad. Different lines.
Okay. Yeah. My ESPN says it's an even 13. Regardless, the line is 13. Give me the Dolphins 21. Give me the Dolphins by 21.
Listen, give me the 13. Give me the 13 in the hook. Give me the 14. I don't care. Should I sing the song Miami Dolphins? Yeah, no. Okay, listen. This is I'm not. This is not good. This is listen. Maybe if the Titans were at home, because that Titans defense is a really good defense. They really are. Will Levis coming along.
They haven't looked like it.
No, I know, but Will Levis coming along a little bit better. Yes, the draft stock was super high at the beginning. It fell off a cliff, and just like Clemson, it's climbing back up. Some anytime touchdown score stuff real quick. Tyreek Hill is the only minus. So A-Chain, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Tajay Spears, Akonwo, all plus odds. So you want to get in some touchdowns. There are obviously going to be touchdowns. They're not all going to Tyreek. But if you want to pair Tyreek with some guys, you can get some good odds there. I also want to touch in on some passing yards real quick. Tua's is 288. Easily could hit 3. Very easily.
He's going to.
Will Levis is 208. That's a nice one to touch in because this offense is a juggernaut. but their defense gives up points. When your offense scores that quickly, you're going to give up points sometimes because the defense they're going to be on the field for too long. So I like
we just got on the field.
I like Will Levis over 208. Passing touchdowns, yeah, they don't actually have one live for Will. But that's okay. I'm not too keen on it regardless. So that's what I like there. Of course, I like the Dolphins.
There you go. I do want to throw this stat out there though, because it's coming around playoff time. I want to throw this out there for our fans, our folks watching, our audience who follow the fan side and the player and the on-field product who follow that. There are two teams in each division, being the AFC East and the NFC North, and then the NFC West and the NFC North, that are at least 3 games above, or the division leader is 3 games ahead of each number 2 team. The Dolphins are 3 games ahead of everybody in the division or more. Baltimore is 2 games ahead of everybody or more. Keep that in mind come playoff time. This stretch is going to be serious. And in the NFC East, at the West, the Niners are 3 games ahead of everybody. And in the NFC North, the Lions are ahead of everybody. Keep that in mind come playoff time. I want y'all to remember that, because those playoff matchups are going to not even the playoff matchup. That last game of the season is going to decide a lot in every division. Not including the AFC East. We already know who won that division. We already know. And the damn show ain't New England.
No, not at all.
I just want y'all to keep that in mind, because what we thought was going to happen or stay stat quo has completely changed. And I'm excited. I don't know about Stoneface over here, but I'm excited.
I was letting you go. Yeah, no, I am. This is gonna be a great stretch of football, and I think we hit a little bit of a dip because extending the season 1 game means a lot.
It does,
and I don't realize people then put it together of how you then get into we're in that dip. Now we're coming back up. It's good. Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Same reason I said teams are going to start tanking too. Those teams that are still alive are going to go for it. The big teams are going to go for it. And some of those other teams are going to start to go.
If you a Jets, Patriots fan, if you a Titans fan,
Bears fan,
Bears,
Cardinals,
Raiders, damn sure to Washington,
Cardinals,
Carolina, just try again next year. Try again next year. Hope
check out the What you should do is check out the Straw Bro Sports Show for your college football analysis, and we'll get you ready for the draft.
There you go. Oh wow! Hey, bro, did your ESPN go off like mine did?
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm seeing? Because I got a notice about a signing.
Go ahead.
The Browns got a receiver off waivers. Clifford Franklin has signed with the Browns.
You are a terrible individual for doing this to these poor Browns fans every week.
The one-man code ain't nothing but the ball ain't nothing but a one-man code to Clifford Franklin. Clifford Franklin, the only one catching it. He the only one coming down with it.
Because I will survive.
They also signed a couple of defensive players. Huka Lakanaka from the University of Hawaii. I think he plays defensive end. And Alvin Mack, linebacker from ESU, have signed with the Browns off waivers. So Browns making defensive moves. They're trying to shore up that defense, man. You know, folks, these are jokes. It's just jokes. Alvin Mack does not play anymore. I don't even know who Huka Lakanaka is.
I bet on some of them Hawaii overs and upsets, so I'm here for it.
I just want y'all to know that these are just jokes, man. Don't take it serious. Don't take it personal. It's all football. It's all love. But while we on it, like Ken said, do not forget to check out the great content on our channel, on our company channel. Uh, Mom said, Mom, it's just jokes. It's all love. Don't take it no other way. It's all jokes. But yeah, don't forget to check out Straw Brothers Sports Show every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the day. It's always a good time. Great content to watch. They are giving you facts about what's going on in the world of college football and in the world of soccer. Don't forget the Rulers Minute. So we know you guys don't have a logo yet, but the Rulers Minute with Rico McGee. I know it says Sports Minute now, but the name change is coming. So the first of the year, the Rulers Minute will be in effect. So don't slide on over there. Check out them Sports Minutes, man. He telling y'all the truth. He giving his intake, and we got some things working, man. There's a new little signal coming out for us. Crunch time. Our first episode will be dropping within the next week. So be sure to check that out. While we're on it, while we have a moment to actually talk about that, Cleveland Crunch's schedule has been released. January 7th is when the season kicks off. They are in the Rapid City Arena that day. There's a rivalry from last year, still some bad blood spilled over. You go back and watch that game. I can't say nothing bad about Rapid City, defending champions, but it's a new year. It's a new year, new team. So don't be surprised when it all comes together and you don't have what you need. So
Watch out for crunch time. Crunch time is coming, and I'm here still. And watch out as well, because during those home games, me and Mel,
we will be in sight.
We are going to be there, whether we bring you live post game, live halftime, or we release it a little bit after, to be determined. However, regardless, you are going to get Crunch access live or in some form at halftime and after those home games and some of the road games as well.
Also, I have talked to our investigative reporter, Bob. We have another show that's possibly coming first of the year. So if you're a fan of the 216 Sports Network, we got you covered in all sports, baby. All sports. So don't be afraid to go click that like, hit that subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Check out some of the past AYF youth games from the regionals. Check out some of the old Cleveland Cobras games. Check out some of the old Senate League games that we've done. And you can also check Straw Brothers episodes out. You can check out old 4th and 15 episodes out. We got everything. So just go check it out, man. Just go check it out. So, with that being said, for 216 Sports Network, that is Ken. I am Mel. Peace.